Good morning. Welcome back to Friday Coffee Talks. We are talking over coffee on a Friday. We are decked out in Ted Lasso today. We got Roy Kent on the mug. We got the Believe hoodie because Ted Lasso Season 3 premiered this week. If you're not watching Ted Lasso, what are you doing? Make better life decisions, for real. Go get an Apple TV subscription. Catch up. It's one of the greatest shows of all time, and it will change your life. It's phenomenal. Go watch it. We are hooked on Ted Lasso. It's biscuits with the boss every morning over here. Football is life. Jamie Tart do all the things. We love it. We're hooked on it, and it premiered this week. So first episode was wonderful. Can't wait for you to check it out. This week, speaking of wonderful episodes, I have a great one for you. We are here for Friday Coffee Talks, episode 100. I cannot believe it. We've hit the century mark. Thank you for joining me on this ride. It's been so fun. I really enjoy being here. I'm glad that you guys enjoy tuning in every week, and I'll keep making them as long as you keep showing up. Today, I've got a great one for you. I'm interviewing a really long-time good buddy of mine, a really good coworker, just one of the best dudes around. So I'll quit talking and let's get right to it. Without any further ado, please enjoy my conversation with my good friend, Chris Sullivan. Welcome back to Friday Coffee Talks. We are here for a long anticipated episode. We're here for the century mark, episode 100. We've had this one in the works for a long time. And I'm joined today by somebody who this list is probably going to be the longest of anybody I've talked to. A salesman, husband, father, car enthusiast, BMW enthusiast, a hobbyist, a flipper, a hustler, a marketer, coffee guy, good coffee shop aficionado, heck of a good friend, heck of a good partner. What have I missed? All the things. It's Chris Sullivan, finally, on Friday Coffee Talks. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks, Connor. Thank you for the warm intro.
So we have had this one in the books. I've talked about it the past couple weeks. We've had this one on the books for a very long time. I think I was in like the early 60s in episodes when I first asked you to interview, and you said, I'd be happy to come on, but only for episode 100.
Yep. I was pushing it off. I was trying to help you in the background, being your, internet cheerleader per se.
Well, I appreciate it. For those of you that don't know, and we'll get into some of this when we talk about hobbies and things like that, but outside of my wife, who influences everything, and me, who builds this whole show by himself, there's nobody that's had a greater impact on the look, the sound, the feel, anything related to Friday Coffee Talks than this man right here. He is my guru when it comes to anything video, audio, streaming, whatever. He's taught me everything I know.
Thank you, man. I've had fun just kind of watching you grow, and your background has constantly changed, so It's always fun to catch it. Yeah. So
different things here and there. It's always moving. And the hats, I think, multiply. So, so
I'm always
Chris,
curious. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
I'm always curious what's in your cup.
Oh, man.
Start it off.
This is a cup of coffee, and for the sake of not wanting to call anybody out or make anybody feel bad, this is a really awful cup of coffee. I bought some beans a few weeks ago, and it's just, I can't wait to get through them. It's like, I don't want to just throw them away. I feel that that's wasteful, but it's just bad.
So I'm sipping on some Colombian fresh beans, perfect with the right mixture per se. So it's perfect. Yeah.
So Chris, let's talk a little bit about your background. Let's jump right in. Currently selling at NetApp, but we've partnered together at some of the previous stops in your career. We've won a couple of great deals together. Give me a little bit about the background and how you got into sales, and maybe some of what has informed your perspective on selling.
For me, it started at a young age. Throughout college, I worked and made my own company. I started a sign shop on the side, enjoyed it, but I wanted more, right? So I started working at FedEx. From there, I wanted to be an account manager, transpired from that to Dell. And, it seems like with every win, another win comes, and you get excited along the way. It's a lot to unfold, but I think it's the excitement of helping a customer and actually seeing the excitement in their eyes and that collaboration you get with your peers, your partners, your friends. And it's that journey you share with somebody, right?
Yeah, yeah. You can tell that you've had a successful sales career because you talk about wins leading to more wins. I would venture to
Mhm.
say that most people in sales have it the other way around. They connect a string of losses and with some sporadic wins thrown in there. So I think that kind of tells people all they need to know about your skills as a seller.
I think you have to have tough skin as a seller. I think that's one of the biggest things that all of us have learned is that you have to be willing to take a no and
Yeah.
accept the no. Don't keep pushing.
Oh man, yeah.
Take that no in stride, smile, and go to the next yes or no. So,
Yes, and I feel like it's human nature to want to fight and not have to take the no, but it's actually like putting people on the back foot when you do that. Putting yourself, your own
mhm,
career, your own success on the back foot because it's
agreed.
much harder, it's much easier I would say to go find the next yes than it is to try to flip somebody from a hard no into a yes.
Yeah. And I think you'll gain more respect with the customer if you accept their no. And then sometimes, like we've had success with multiple no's, just being an ally with the customer and a friend and listen. And they come back and say, you know what? Can you do this differently? And it's a good feeling when they come back to you.
Yeah. Yeah. It absolutely is. So coming up through Dell, you start out on inside sales, right?
Correct. Yeah.
It
So
was at
started on the
Dell.
inside. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah. So I started at Dell and inside sales consumer to be more specific. From there, I worked my way up from the consumer team to the business team, enterprise, and then eventually going into the field. But I think for me, working in consumer and building that grit and that tenacity, because consumer was not an easy place to flourish.
Sure.
But if you're able to survive a year, you could survive 10. It was a fun place to be and you learned a lot in a hurry.
Sure. So it was at Dell, correct? That the inauguration of the follow up bear. Tell me about that.
Oh, yes. Not necessarily the follow-up bear. So as sellers, we all have our catchphrases, whether it's right, yes, like, but the one that a lot of us disagreed with was, hello, I'm calling to touch base with you,
Touch base,
right?
touch base. That's right.
So inside at Dell, now we found a 6 foot bear that somebody had left in the building, and we had given the name of the touch base bear. And when somebody said touch base, we quickly, grabbed the 6 foot tall bear and would place it on their desk to get people to break the habit of calling and touching base, but call with a purpose and actually connect with the customer rather than, hey, we're not playing baseball, we're not playing basketball, we're not touching bases. We're calling for a purpose. So
Oh my gosh. Nothing to remind you not to do something like just a little bit of harmless shame.
it's more like a easy reminder because you turn and look, man, this bear has to go.
Yeah.
So
Get this on somebody else's desk. I got to get out of here.
right.
Oh my gosh. All right. So cool. Obviously huge background in sales, but one of the other things that fascinates me most about you is just the breadth and the width of things that you're into. I touched on a little bit of it when I was introducing you, but you have, I think, probably more hobbies or things that you get into than most of my friends combined. Whether it's restoring a car from, all the way down to the nuts and bolts to, building a family and having a small baby to, building your career, putting your company's logo on the side of your car. I mean, all these different things. Tell me about your strategy with time management.
Um, so I think Albert Einstein was the one that mentioned it, right? He'll sleep when he's dead. But for me, time management has been more or less putting the projects in a place that's manageable for me. Because now, as I'm a family man, I think you have to build off of that dynamic and understand what's good for the family, what's good for you, and then filtering in those 30-minute, 1 hour, making it impactful, whether it's organizing my office or organizing my cars or building, like you said, a restoration project. it's making that impact purposeful. Don't waste time of organizing something or doing something or letting time get away from you, but using it effectively. And I use that same mantra throughout my day to day, my career. What I do, when I do it, I'm forward thinking, so that way I'm not losing those 5-10 minutes. Because if you do that all day long, that time adds up. So
Yeah, absolutely. It does add up. Okay, so I've talked about a couple of them, but take me through some of the things that you're into outside of work. There's a purple car I know that takes up a lot of time. What else you got going on?
so yeah, like you said, I'm a huge car guy. For whatever reason, I got stuck on BMWs. Um, I have a 1986 E28 that we've completely restored every nut and bolt. Finishing up the interior. Outside of that, we're building a Z3. Now I say we because now a family. So I'm including my wife and my daughter in the process. So we put the
That's
daughter
awesome.
in the car while we work on it. We give her some plastic tools so she's entertained, or some of her little people. So it's a project that we could share together. But yeah, outside of the E28, we're building a 1500 horsepower Z3. My wife's car is 700 horsepower. My daily car is 600 horsepower. So needless to say that we enjoy performance. So
So your main daily driver is special to my family. My son will never forget it. You actually bought it down here in Beaufort, Georgia, and
mhm.
swung by my house on the way home. So that was, I mean, it's been a few years ago now. You've had that thing
Oh yeah,
5 years, something like that.
2018. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly
and
5 years.
so when you swung by, it's a very distinctive color. It's
Hmm.
very bright green, and my son came down the stairs. Parker came downstairs and was like just amazed by that car.
I remember he walks down the steps. Hi, I'm Parker. Nice to meet you. Very formal, shakes my
Yeah,
hand, and
yep.
says, let's see your car. And so he walks out the door, turns around, looks at you, and says, Dad, the color of a booger. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know that's not what you wanted to hear about an hour after buying your brand new car, but it is a beautiful color, regardless of whether it looks like a booger or not.
I don't know where they got the name from, but as this is Friday Coffee Talks, right? So the color is Java metallic green. Don't know where the Java came from, but
That's
it
appropriate.
works. So
Oh my gosh, man, that's awesome. Well, it's funny you mentioned a Z3. My mom drove a Z4 for like 10 years or more, 15 years maybe.
mhm.
I loved that car. When Mandy and I were dating, that would be like if we were going over and letting my parents watch the kids or something. There were so many times at least a couple times, like, Mom, can I take the Z to the date? And she's like, Yeah, all right.
Now keep in mind the Z that I have is probably one of the most hated Z's because it's unique. They quit making them, right? So they're called the clown shoe. So it's
Oh yeah,
a
yeah.
hatchback version of the Z. So the ones that everybody knows is a ragtop or hardtop convertible. This one is looks like a clown shoe. So it's very unique.
Well, I think that's the Z4 versus the Z3 too. The Z4 had the
They had,
definitely the long hood, not the same, but
yeah.
some closer, I guess.
Hmm. So they had a clown shoe variant of the Z4, but again, it was considered the ugly duckling. So
Oh yeah. Hey, I liked it. So okay, so let me run back to sales just for a minute. One of
mhm.
the things I love about working with you is that you are almost obsessively, if I could use that word in a good way, obsessively customer minded. Like everything that you do is with the customer in mind, doing the right thing by them, how they're going to interpret something, how you want to play out a story based on what we're presenting, all that kind of stuff. Obsessively
Right.
customer minded. What do you think, based on that and the way that you sell, what do you think are the biggest mistakes that people are making today? And what are maybe some things that you wish you had learned earlier in your career to avoid maybe some of the hiccups that you've had?
Now that's a loaded question. Let's see. How can I unpack that? So, what are some of the things that I do? I think for me is I do what's called like active listening, really listen to what the customer is putting forth and take note. I think a lot of people are getting so excited that they have an opportunity in front of them that they forget to solve for the problem, right? Or the problems. So
Yeah.
they get a product, they get their software, they get everything together, but they forget how to articulate what problem they're solving because they've razored in because their director, their VP, and so forth has said, you need to close X deal. And as it goes up the chain, me and you both have experienced it. The higher it goes, the less likelihood they know the true customer problem, or it's something in a spreadsheet or a note somewhere in Salesforce or XCRM. It's the game of telephone, right? You have to make sure you keep yourself grounded, listen to what your customer's saying, and truly respond in a way that's helpful. For me, I think something that I learned, and you've seen it in my presentations, I come out the gate explaining what the problem they're trying to solve for every time in every presentation or every proposal. Because if you reiterate what you're solving for, you let the customer know that you've actively listened to what they're saying. And it's okay to regurgitate what they say verbatim or even quote them throughout the sales process, like I've done in emails and so forth, because it helps. It resonates with them. They feel better about the solution you're putting forth, and it solves for that problem, right?
Yeah.
However, something that I could have done better early on is done better note taking, right? That active listening took time. It wasn't something that happens overnight. You don't listen to the verbal cues or the body language, or, these days having a voice call with somebody and having the chance to get on video. A lot of people aren't taking advantage of what opportunities we have. And I think in my career, had I done that sooner, I'd have been more successful, right? Making sure that I was constantly actively listening with customers, that could have helped me catapult faster. It just took time to, perfect. It doesn't happen overnight for anybody.
Yeah, no,
So,
absolutely. I don't know if you've read the book "Never Split the Difference" by Chris Voss. It's pretty ubiquitous. I think most people have these days, but he calls that labeling. Taking what you've just heard and repeating it back to them, even verbatim, and saying,
mhm,
"What I just heard you say is this," and that
mhm.
lets them know A, that you're listening, and B, if there is any uncertainty between what you heard and what they said, they can kind of clear it up before you move on to the next step in the conversation.
Right. Yeah, I've read the book.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's not necessarily just the labeling part of it, but always having it as part of the conversation and make it smooth where the customer feels comfortable to continue opening up to you, right? Because the worst thing that could happen is after they open up a little bit, you don't reiterate their problems, they're not going to share anymore.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Yep. Yeah, no, as active listening too is it's such a huge thing, and it's again, I think it's one of those human problems, not necessarily a sales problem. I mean, I'm having those discussions with my 7-year-old all the time. Listening to really hear what people are saying, not the words coming in your ears, and you're just thinking about what the next thing that you're going to say back is. It's a skill that people all around the world need to learn, not just in sales, for sure.
yeah, it definitely helps just basic problem solving in the home, in your career, throughout life. Just listen. Don't think, like you said, don't think about your response. Listen to somebody's true opinion, what they're feeling, what they're trying to resolve. Take a moment, breathe, and then respond. Because I think nowadays we're so excited to have that response, we tend to talk over each other.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's unfortunate. Um, so one of the other things that is core Chris Sullivan is the blending of a sales mindset and a marketing mindset. I feel like every time we talk, you've got some new campaign that you want to launch or an event that you want to put out. The wheels are always turning for you as far as the story you want to tell customers and how you want to connect that with what you're selling ultimately. How do you think that has had an impact on your career to have that other like nuanced side of what you're presenting to customers?
Yeah, I think any good salesperson is going to want to have fun with their customers, right? So I think that's first and foremost. But being creative and how we present ourselves, the company we're working for, or the presentations and proposals, you got to be creative, right? The marketing side of it is natural to a good seller. You're going to have fun events, you're going to have wonderful coffee talks, you're going to have things that Address people as people, right? Whether it's Boots, Brews, and Barbecue, or Carding to Care, the different events that you put on make an impact and resonate with people differently. It's just the way of connecting has changed to a dynamic of fun, right? You have to have fun with it. If you're not having fun, a lot of people aren't going to want to do it. If it's boring and stale and regurgitation of the same thing, you're not going to have a good attendance. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's tough to get tough to sell a lunch and learn these days, for sure.
yeah, bringing lunch in for a customer when everybody's gone remote is totally different. So,
Right, right, right. Gosh. So you mentioned a couple of them. What are some of the highlights that you've worked on? Maybe some of the standout things that you've done that maybe have been a little bit more creative.
so I'd say in my career, it's considered, I'd say, more or less my secret sauce, right? Connecting to people at a different level. Um, Throughout my career, I've done family portraits for people, which is always fun. Gives you an opportunity of getting in front of them, right? Connecting to them in a different way. So during the holidays, I would say IT guys are probably one of the more, I'd say, distracted because it's end of year. They're trying to make sure everything's good to go so they could walk away for 2 months because November and December fly by. So family
Yeah.
portraits really resonates with people because now you're helping your IT friend bring something to the table that his wife has been trying to resolve, right? So you're problem solving for him without even knowing it's a problem yet. So the family portraits went over really well. I've done that on and off throughout my career. Boots, Brews, and Barbecue, I've done at Dell, I've done at Lenovo, I did at Tanium. But the idea is not to do it so frequently it makes people bored with it. Have fun with it, freshen it up, make something different. And I think one of the coolest ideas, I've always been family focused when I do these events. I did a speed at any scale event with Tanium. Their tagline is speed at any scale. What did I do? I did a Father's Day out event where a speed at any scale, come join us for an RC car event where you and your son or daughter get to race an RC car together. We had people drive 3-4 hours to come to the event because it was that impactful and they would bring their kids for the day. So
Yeah.
we were supposed to only be there for an hour and a half
It's
racing. We were there for 3.5 hours. So it's pretty cool.
it's such a huge thing. It's so powerful just to do something that is not just fun, but impactful and memorable and different. Those kind of things that are just flying out of your head every day are a unique thing. So, don't take for granted the marketing mind you've got. It's powerful for you.
Now the prop you see in the background, right? So this is a homage to Star Wars, right? It's a lightsaber. However, even when I was at Lenovo, right? Lenovo had the Jedi kit. I gave everybody
Mm-hmm.
lightsabers and invited them out to Rogue One movie premiere. So we all had lightsabers in the
Yeah.
audience. So it's all about having fun, right? But I made that one again, family focused. Bring your kids. So
Yeah.
it's fun. It's
Well,
different.
and I've touched on it a minute ago too, but you're also the guy with a very distinctively bright colored car and happened to throw your company logo as a wrap on the outside of your car and pulled up to the front of a golf tournament. Those are the kind of things people remember.
Oh yeah. I was the Tanium guy in town and the car went viral on Twitter for a bit. So it was definitely interesting. People would send me random text messages or send my car to different groups. It was fun.
I've got to think of a way to leverage it. My bright blue truck needs more eyeballs.
Oh yeah. Now your truck's actually, what's it called? Voodoo Blue. It's a cool color.
Yep. Voodoo blue. His name's Nola for that reason.
Never named my car. Actually, I take that back.
Oh,
I've always said Java the Hutt, because it's Java metallic green.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Somewhat of a
perfect.
Star
Yeah.
Wars fan.
No,
Yeah.
I'm crazy about naming things. Everything has to have a name. I'm pretty superstitious about it.
My wife has named every car we've owned, so I've let that up to her. So
There you go. All right. So, Chris, our traditional last question around here, you're familiar with it. And I've actually done this with you, but let's say you're driving around Nashville, You're jonesing for a little caffeine. You pull into a nice little craft coffee shop. I know you know all of them. You know the good ones. What is that go-to coffee order for you?
For me, here in Nashville, there's three places I would hit. You know, if I was to pick a shop, it'd be a mix between Nectar, Dose, and Sip. However, all of them have their own twist of a mocha. My favorite one, which is in this cup today, is called a Mexican mocha. Has a hint of paprika, flavored off with a little bit of cinnamon and
Ooh,
dark chocolate. It's sweet with a little bit of smoke,
yeah,
so it comes off very good and crisp. So that would be my go-to.
that sounds awesome. Okay, Mexican mocha. That sounds
Oh,
really good.
it's so good.
I've never been a mocha guy normally. Like coffee and chocolate go so well together, but it's just never the first thing I think of. So I need to put mocha back on my list, I guess.
I've always been mocha or cappuccino. You know, cappuccino, you get to taste the beans
Mm.
and it makes it very smooth. But um, an espresso shot just to start the morning sometimes and get out the door, quick, easy, and it's smooth. It
Mhm.
goes down, and then you got energy for the rest of the day almost. So it feels good.
That brings me around that I don't know if you've ever had one, but I love a cortado. That's if I'm looking for something quick, nice little cortado. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's so good.
When I would go to Miami, the Cuban coffee is amazing. I don't know if you've ever had one of those. It's
Yes.
phenomenal. So,
Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh, you're making me hungry. We're recording this in the afternoon, and I'm gonna have to make another coffee now. So thank you. I'll be up all night. Oh my gosh. Well, Chris, thank you so much for the time. This has been a long time in the making, and I am very grateful for your insight. I'm grateful for your knowledge that you've shared with me about everything from lighting to microphones to everything. Grateful for you as a friend. You're a heck of a buddy and a good partner. You've always got people's back, and that is all too rare these days. So I appreciate you and thanks for taking the time to join me.
I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, Connor. Before we depart, though, I want to say congratulations on your 100th episode. Like I said earlier at the beginning, I've been a cheerleader, right, in the background, constantly pushing you, saying, "Hey, man, have you thought about this?" Or, "Hey, I love this episode," giving you feedback. It's really cool to see you grow, continue the progress. You're doing something wonderful here, man. Um, really happy for you. I'm waiting for that 1,000th episode. Maybe I'll get another interview before then, but I'm gonna earmark. I'm gonna earmark the 1,000th. So everybody heard it now.
Well, we need to do a live interview for sure. I got to make it up to Nashville. We got to film one in person.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Well, buddy, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for sharing your insight with everyone here at Friday Coffee Talks. And thank all of you for joining us. This has been episode 100. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the time you spend watching Friday Coffee Talks. I'm still enjoying doing it, and I hope you're still enjoying watching it. Thanks for being here. We'll catch you next week.